Good morning. I'm Brigadier General, Air Force, retired, Wilma Vaught, President of the Women in Military Service Memorial Foundation. And I certainly, on behalf of all of the women for whom this memorial pays tribute, welcome you here today. You know, England may have its royal weddings, but we have Hilda Cann. And we've had many unusual ceremonies here at the memorial since in the 14 years it's been in existence, and this may be among the most unusual. And it certainly is one with one of the more elderly persons that we have ever honored, since Hilda is 102. This is a story of a promise made and a promise kept. And a promise that keeps on going on, as you will see as the ceremony unfolds. And I want to thank the Nurse Corps members of both the Army and the Air Force who are here today. And as I think of all of the many stories that I have read, that nurses have written in, and including this story of Hilda Cann, I just can't help but come to the conclusion that nurses are the epitome of compassion, and certainly we have this in this instance. I would like to, at this time, introduce one of our honored guests, the wife of the Defense Attaché from the Canadian Embassy, Rear Admiral Richard Greenwood, and Monica Greenwood is here. Would you please stand? So, thank you. We are just delighted to have you here with us. So at this time, we will have the national anthems.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy son's command, qu'entre-bras porter le pays, U.S.A. porter la gloire. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
that you're going to hear is an introduction of the various nurses, chiefs of the nursing services. And since this is a nursing thing, and I'm not a nurse, I have asked Major General Gail Pollock to introduce the nurses when it comes her time. Not yet, because right now we have Lieutenant Colonel Douglas Martin, who is the Public Affairs Attaché for the Canadian Forces.
Thank you, ma'am. Good morning, distinguished guests, and a big good morning to the Cann family, especially to my new best friend, Hilda. We love seeing you, and you look so beautiful today, Hilda, and we're very proud to have you here. The reason why I've been asked to speak first is because we're sort of doing the story in reverse. So I'm going to tell you the end of the story, and then her son is going to come up and tell you the middle of the story, and then we'll ask Hilda to tell the rest of the story. This started with a letter from Bill Cann, Hilda's son, and he wrote to the ambassador, Gary Dewar, our ambassador here in Washington, D.C., asking him if he could help him deliver a special present back to the United States from his mother. And the ambassador said, well, this sounds like a military thing, so he said, give it to Doug Martin. So I got the job to start working on this project. And I ended up talking to Bill for quite a long time about this wonderful tablecloth that you're about to see in a few minutes. And we had a great discussion about it. You know, we'll put it into a FedEx box, send it to me, we'll get a couple people together, and we'll deliver it to the memorial, and everything will be fine, and Mrs. Cann's desire would be fulfilled. And then I started saying, well, you know, Bill, how's your mom doing? Oh, she's doing really well. I said, is she able to get around? Oh, yeah, no problem. She likes her walker, but she gets around, no problem. I said, well, why doesn't she deliver it? He goes, puts his hand over the phone, and he says, hey, Mom, do you want to deliver the tablecloth yourself? And she said, only if you take me. So Bill said, well, I'll take you. And I said, well, this is great. I said, why don't we do this on the 9th of June, because I've got these great singers coming in from Winnipeg, Manitoba, and Hilda was born in Manitoba. I've got the pipes and drums coming in for a special celebration. We can make this into a nice little event. And we agreed on it, and then I was about to hang up, and I said, Bill, does your mom have a passport? And Bill said, oh, I'm sure she does. Well, she did, but it expired in 2005. So we're not going to get into the whole story about getting her a passport, but believe me, it took a lot of effort, and one of the special people in this room right now, Micheline Gauthier, she's from the Canadian Embassy, and she was part of the team that helped make sure that Mrs. Cann received her passport on time. And Micheline, put your hand up, dear. Where are you? Thank you. Because without that passport, they weren't going to let this little terrorist into the country, were they? So ladies and gentlemen, the beautiful thing was she got her passport. Air Canada took great care of them. I'll let Bill tell the middle part of the story before we carry on. But ma'am, we're so proud to have you here, and we consider you ours, even though I know the Americans consider you theirs right now. So go ahead, Bill.
There's so much to tell, and I want to be brief because I know you're really here to hear my mom. The first thing that I want to do is recognize two people that have made this for our family not only memorable, but a Cinderella story. Mom has actually been, for us, so excited about coming here. And she's basically, for the last month and a half, been able to talk about nothing else. We were in Kelowna for her 102nd birthday on May 23rd, and that's shortly after I made the original arrangements with Lieutenant Colonel Martin, and it just started to snowball from there. My sister-in-law Diane, when she first heard the story, said that that's great, but Barry has to come too. And so it became a family thing. The first two people that I really want to recognize, though, that made this whole thing happen for us, for our family, are Lieutenant Colonel Martin, the Public Affairs Attaché at the Canadian Embassy, and Marilla Cushman, who is the Director of Public Affairs here at the Women's Memorial. I know this is going to sound really corny, but Mom thinks of Doug and Marilla as part of her family now. And that's really just the way they have been. They have taken care of every little detail that we didn't think of, thought of things that we didn't think of, and have impressed our family to no end with their sincerity and their generosity in working with somebody that we're, of course, in love with too. And it just seems that everybody that's met Mom, and I hope you have that experience too if you get to talk to her, that she will touch your heart, because everybody that we've met so far has told us that they fall in love with her. So I hope you share that. I also would like to recognize, just very briefly, all of the members of our family. I won't go into the grandchildren. I think it's just because she's humble. She doesn't like to tell these parts of the stories because it seems like an incredible exaggeration. The first thing that I want to share with you is I've always tried to understand what my dad's reaction was and what was going through his head when Mom came off the Queen Mary and they met in New York. Because Dad had only had 1 week when they were first married in 1940 before he volunteered to go overseas with the Royal Canadian Engineers, and 1 week in 1944 of honeymoon time with Mom. So I'm reasonably sure that the main thing that was on his mind was restart the honeymoon. And the second thing that was on his mind was to get to Edmonton, where he had a job waiting. And he had told Mom that that's what he wanted to do, and she said no. Stubbornness runs really deep in our family. We all get it from Mom. And she explained to Dad that she was on her way to Cincinnati and hoped that he would come with her. The reason that they were going to Cincinnati was she was keeping a promise that I'll let her tell you about. But the things that she probably won't tell you is that they didn't have an address. And I can't imagine my dad even processing this because he was such a detailed kind of guy. And I'm thinking when Mom said, we're going to go to Cincinnati and we're going to